Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We will also have with us law enforcement officers from around the country who have traveled here to support our efforts to ban these military-style assault weapons, including the chiefs of police of Tempe, Arizona, Northridge, California, Vail, Colorado, Athens, Clark County, Georgia, Algonquin, Illinois, Wesley, Massachusetts, Baltimore County, Maryland, Norman and Spencer in Oklahoma, Tualatin, Oregon, Waverly, Pennsylvania, Petersburg, Virginia, the universities of Central Florida, of Washington, of Wisconsin-Madison, and of Dickinson and McDaniel colleges, and the leaders of the state police in New York and Rhode Island. Would these and other law enforcement officers here today please stand and be recognized? Thank you very much. We cannot allow the carnage I have described to continue without taking action on what is a serious matter of public policy. And that's why I have joined with many of my colleagues, some on this committee, Senator Schumer, Durbin, Whitehouse, Klobuchar, Franken, Blumenthal, and Hirano, as well as many others off the committee, to introduce legislation to prohibit the sale, transfer, manufacture, and importation of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. As the members of this committee know, we enacted a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, which I authored in the Senate and Senator Schumer sponsored in the House in 1994. Unfortunately, that law had a 10-year sunset, and Congress failed to renew it when it expired in 2004. Since the ban expired, over 350 people have been killed with assault weapons. Over 450 have been wounded. And the weapons are even more lethal today than they were in 2004. Let me give you an example, and you can watch this on the screen. You can buy what's called a bump fire stock legally that you insert into an AR-15 or other assault rifles. This, as I said, is legal. It is not cosmetic, and it allows a semi-automatic firearm to be fired as quickly as a fully automatic machine gun, which has been banned for decades. I'd like to quickly show this weapon firing with the slide in it. You see this bump fire slide working as it mimics a fully automatic weapon. So it's got the versatility of low fire rates plus those very high fire rates. And that is legal today. Since the Newtown massacre, several states, including California, how long is it? That's it. Since the Newtown massacre, several states, including California, Delaware, Maryland, and New York, have shown leadership in moving to ban assault weapons or strengthen existing bans. Even so, the need for a federal ban has never been greater. For instance, California law enforcement tells me that our state's assault weapons ban has been effective in reducing the availability of these deadly weapons. But some criminals continue to acquire the guns from neighboring states like Arizona, where they are unregulated. And as Senator Durbin stated at the last hearing, and I quote, "In the last 20 years, 9% of the crime guns in the city of Chicago could be traced to the state of Mississippi, end quote. It is clear that we need a national solution. Let me describe briefly the key features of this new legislation, the assault weapons ban of 2013. The bill bans the sale, transfer, importation, and manufacture of 157 specifically named semi-automatic assault weapons. It bans any other assault weapon which is defined as semi-automatic that can accept a detachable magazine and has one military characteristic, such as a pistol grip, barrel shroud, or folding stock. These features were developed for military weapons to make them more effective and efficient at killing people in close combat situations. The bill prohibits large capacity ammunition feeding devices capable of accepting more than 10 rounds. This is a crucial part of this legislation. These large magazines and drums make a gun especially dangerous because they allow a shooter to fire 15, 30, even 100 rounds or more without having to pause to reload. In many instances, like the tragic shooting of our colleague, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords in Tucson, Arizona, it is only when the shooter has to change magazines that police or others have the chance to take that shooter down. The bill also protects the rights of legitimate gun owners. It will not affect hunting or sporting firearms. Instead, the bill protects legitimate hunters by specifically excluding over 2,000 specifically named by make and model firearms used for hunting or sporting purposes. Second, the bill will not take away any weapons that anybody owns today. Anyone who says otherwise is simply trying to deceive you. Instead, the bill grandfathers weapons legally possessed on the date of enactment. Finally, while the bill permits the continued possession of high-capacity ammunition magazines that are legally possessed at the day of enactment, it would ban the future sale or transfer of these magazines, including the manufacture, importation, or possession. Let me address for a moment the charge that the assault weapons bans such as this are unconstitutional. The original federal assault weapons ban was challenged repeatedly in federal court on every grounds the opponents could come up with, including the Second Amendment, the Ninth Amendment, the Commerce Clause, the Due Process Clause, equal protection, and being a bill of attainder. Each and every time, these challenges were rejected and the ban was upheld, including by the 4th, 6th, 9th, and D.C. circuits. As we all know, the Supreme Court subsequently recognized the individual right to gun ownership in District of Columbia v. Heller. However, that decision clearly stated, and I quote, "The right secured by the Second Amendment is not unlimited," end quote. Justice Scalia, the author of that opinion, wrote that, quote, "dangerous and unusual weapons could be prohibited." Following Heller, state assault weapons bans in California and the District of Columbia have been upheld as consistent with the Second Amendment in People v. James and Heller v. District of Columbia, known as Heller 2. The assault weapons ban of 2013 has received the endorsement of major law enforcement organizations, including the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Major Cities Chiefs of Police. I'm also very pleased that this legislation is endorsed by the Conference of Mayors, Mayors for Gun Control, religious, governmental, civic, and other groups of officials. So without objection, I hope I will place the list of endorsements into the record. I now yield to the distinguished ranking member, Senator Grassley, for his opening remarks.
I ask the committee's approval of one insert I'll have during my remarks.
So ordered.
Madam Chairwoman, thank you for holding today's hearing. The tragedy at Newtown has caused all of us to ask what has happened in our society to bring about that tragedy and a lot of other like tragedies. We're all shocked and horrified by the murder of innocent children, and we obviously sympathize with the victims and their families. And for one of our witnesses today, Mr. Heslin, I want to express my personal deep sympathy for your loss and that of your neighbors and the sharing of pain. We do not want anything like this to happen again. We're determined to take effective constitutional action to prevent future catastrophes, and we can make the world safer. Safer for people on the streets, safer for children in schools. Society in recent decades has become less civil. Violent video games have encouraged the killing of innocent people for sport. These ought to be of deep concern. Mental health services are not always up to par. Some states are not adequately supplying records of prohibited persons to the FBI instant check system. We have heard testimony that the records of hundreds of thousands of mentally ill people in Arizona, people who are not legally allowed to own weapons, have not been provided for inclusion in that database. A search of an incomplete database that fails to conform to existing law does not provide all the safety that American people have a right to expect. Existing prohibitions on gun possessions are not enforced as much as they should be.